This is the Rookie Big Board Rookie Profile Series. I'm your host, Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, joined as always by John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar. This is the Dalton Kincaid Rookie Profile. Dalton Kincaid, John, one of many intriguing tight end prospects that helps define this 2023 class. I know he's a popular guy. Folks are going to be excited for us to get into him. So let's waste no more time.
We might be a little disappointed in the wide receivers this year, but Matt, I'm bullish on the tight ends. If you're in a dynasty league and you need an upgrade at that position, there's talent. And Dalton Kincaid is right near the very top of my rankings. In high school, I did not realize this, Matt, until I started doing a lot more research in the last 2 months. He was an unranked prospect. He wasn't someone who, teams were clamoring to get on their roster. He played just 1 year of high school football. Now, he was named All-State and All-Conference in 2017. So we do have a little older of a prospect here. He also played basketball, which is obvious. If you've seen Dalton Kincaid up on the football field, Matt, those basketball skills, the rebounding skills, they definitely translate on the football field. So as an undrafted prospect, Matt, he had to take a little bit of a different route to NFL's potential here. He enrolled at San Diego University, not San Diego State, everyone, San Diego University. That is an FCS program. So he went down to a little bit of a lower level. He suited up for all 12 games. And he was very impressive. He had 24 catches, 374 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Those are some incredible numbers. The following year, in 2019, he was third-team All-American and Hero Sports sophomore All-American at the FCS level. So very, very big season for the young man. He paced all FCS tight ends in yards per catch, 18.9. He is getting down the field, Matt. He logged 44 receptions for 835 yards and 8 scores. During COVID that year, 2020, he transfers to Utah. So he finally gets into a Power 5 program for the Utes. And he played in 5 games that year, but he only had 1 catch for 14 yards. So even in college fantasy football, he wasn't really on anyone's radar entering 2021. But Matt, he exploded. He was honorable mention All Pac-12. He saw action in all 14 games, and he had 13 starts. He had 36 receptions for 510 yards and 8 touchdowns. His 14.2 yards per reception ranked third among all tight ends in the Pac-12. And that they had Greg Dulcich in the Pac-12 that year. So he had some competition for quality players. And last year, 2022, wow, did he go up my rankings. Semifinalist John Mackey Award, first team All Pac-12, and third team All-American. He had 70 receptions, Matt, 890 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He led all FBS tight ends in receiving yards and receiving yards per game. I have fallen in love, and he's probably the tight end who skyrocketed the most in my rankings this year. What does your film study say of this young man?
Dalton Kincaid is a fluid athlete, and that's something you love to see from a fantasy football perspective when evaluating the tight end position, right? That athleticism is what's going to get us excited about potential production. John, what's unique to Dalton Kincaid is that he wins before and after the catch. I love his contact balance. A lot of, John, when you were talking about his portion of the offense and then thinking about his film and his ability to win after the catch, right? It's a lot of things we liked about Trey McBride, right? Coming into last year. And Dalton Kincaid, excellent contact balance. He has some fluidity when he's running the ball. And so he does have the ability to add, an extra 5, 6, 7 yards at the NFL level. That can be really impactful. Great hands. They're sticky. I wouldn't say, certainly the quarterback play improved a little bit this year, John, but he has, shown the ability to work with maybe not the top level quarterback play. He has good hands. He extends his frame well. Great contested catch ability. He knows how to put his body in a position to win. He knows how to go up and get the ball, right? And what does that say to me, John? That says ding, red zone production, right? That's what we want. We want that contested catch ability, and I want to see it in the red zone. Now, it's interesting. Whenever you hear about Dalton Kincaid and his NFL draft profile, you hear about all these things I've talked about that fantasy football managers love, but you usually hear this caveat of, he's not a guy you want to put his hand in the ground, right? He's not somebody who you're going to rely on to block for you. And although I do think that's true, I think he's a perfectly fine blocker. I don't think he's a liability, as a run blocker. Is he Darnell Washington or Michael Mayer? No, absolutely not. But what I love, John, is he's aggressive. He fires off the line of scrimmage. He's willing to engage physically. And you mentioned it. He's played 2 years of FBS football. That was 1 year of high school and 1 year of FCS before that. I think he could get into an NFL coaching room, NFL organization, get in that coaching room with the tight ends, and I think he could really refine his blocking ability because he shows the desire to get after it and an aggressiveness and willing to be physical. So I'm not worried about his blocking in the slightest. I can't find a clean weakness, John. He's got a limited route tree, but I don't think he needs to have, a super defined route tree. He's not the most technically refined route runner, but you're going to be hard pressed to find a tight end that is. So, he's not going to max out speed score, but he has a good speed score for a tight end, and he has good athletic score for a tight end. So there's a lot to like here about Dalton Kincaid. And quite frankly, John, beyond the fact that he's a tight end and he's going to be employed like a tight end at the next level, there's really not too many holes in his game from a fantasy football perspective, at least that the tape shows. And I don't know if the numbers can show any, John.
Matt, the numbers are impressive for this young man. First, I think you hit the nail on the head with his blocking. He's 6'4", 246. What I like about him, Matt, he's not Michael Mayer as a blocker, but he's a willing blocker to engage. And if you put him in motion, he's willing to crack down. I don't think you're going to put him on a 290-pound defensive end and ask him to push him off the ball, but you can ask him to crack linebacker. You can put him in movement. Maybe you can, double team. He could wham a double team on a defensive end. He can do things in the run game to help you. He's got the physical size. My model, I have 4 key benchmarks. Matt, he exceeds everyone. I'm looking for 90 career receptions. He has 107. Boom. So despite really only playing 2 years, at the highest level, he has 107. That's a lot of receptions. I'm looking for a tight end at 13 yards per reception. He has 13.2. That's a solid number for a tight end, everyone. Look at that catch percentage, 73%. The only player ahead of him in this year's draft class is David Allen of Clemson. Dalton Kincaid has good hands and he secures the ball. Team aerial dominator, 20%. My benchmark is 15%. So he exceeded that. That's 4 out of 4. My production model likes him. Matt, what do the fantasy football fans need to know about Dalton Kincaid?
John, I have his NFL draft projection here is day 1 late to day 2 mid. In the rookie big board, that means picks 21 to 50. I would be shocked if he fell outside of the top 50. I would be surprised if he went above 21, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility by any means. I think he's pretty safely in that 21 to 50 range. In terms of ADP, I think you can use your second round fantasy football selection in a Superflex league on Dalton Kincaid, 205 to 208, and I think you could feel pretty good about that. It is rich relative to the tight end position, John, but we're probably going to see 2 to 3 tight ends come off the board in the second round of your rookie drafts, maybe 1 in the first round, depending on how those landing spots shake out. So this is a year where you're going to have to invest some decent capital here to get one of these tight ends, and for good reason. I do have him projected in my weekly starter tier. So I think he's going to be a borderline tier tight end 1, 2 right off the bat. And I know, John, it doesn't take a ton. to be a tight end 1 or 2 right now in fantasy football purposes. But remember, being realistic at the tight end position, no matter what tight end it is, it's going to take a year or 2 or 3 to really get into the rhythm of what an NFL offense is going to ask you to do, right? I mean, Trey McBride, kind of came on towards the end of last year. Greg Dulcich kind of came on at the end of last year. So usually year 2 or 3, Pat Freiermuth kind of into his second or third year, a little bit more consistent now. So any good tight end prospect here, it might take a little bit longer. I'm going to have mid-level exposure, John. If he's sitting there at 208, I'm going to take him all the time. At 205, I might have to hedge a little bit because there's going to be some other guys I want, but I'm definitely want to get some Dalton Kincaid on my rosters this year. And in terms of his current value comparison, I have Greg Dulcich right there with that same RBBR 7-1. John, what's really cool actually with the rookie big board now, I have the what I call the biggest board, and you could actually see Dalton Kincaid is right there, right next to Greg Dulcich. So this was an easy value comparison for me. Athletic tight ends that can get, make a real impact in the passing game. With any luck, Dalton Kincaid gets into an offense where he can see even more volume than Greg Dulcich, and then we can really kind of be shooting for the moon with him, and we can be really excited about his fantasy football value. John, we don't have to wait to be excited about the fantasy football value that comes with being a patron for the Rookie Big Board. You get access to the draft guide, updated Rookie Big Board. I just mentioned the biggest board here with the Devy and the Dynasty rankings. You can compare the rookie class there and get access to the Discord. Just $3 a month. Head on over to patreon.com/rookieBigBoard. And as always, we appreciate you checking out this episode